afternoon. Namaste. I, Sonam Thakur, on behalf of Dr. BRAOU, Department of English, we welcome you all for the teleconference. It gives immense pleasure to introduce Professor K.Rani Rajitha Maduri ma'am, Dean Faculty of Arts. We welcome our resource person, Deepa Ramanathan ma'am, Assistant Professor of English, VCI WU, Hyderabad, for the conference. Today, we will discuss BA second semester English course on the topic Relevance of Culture in Communication. Now, I request Professor K.Rani Rajitha Maduri ma'am to give brief introduction about UG Semester 1 course.
Thank you, Sonam. Once again, welcome you all for the teleconference. Today, my dear students, kindly call to this number 040-23680-456. Whenever you have any difficulty in understanding the course, go back to your self-learning material. Today, I give an introduction about BA course, BA English Literature, which is discipline-specific core course, which comes with 5 credit. BA English Literature consists of 6 courses in the first semester, second, third, 4, 5 and 6, including 2 skills courses in the 4th semester and also in the 6th semester. Coming to our first semester, the title of the course is, this is exclusively for the students of Department of English. So, whoever is taking English as one of the specific subject, as a discipline specific core course, they are going to learn certain concept in the first year with the title, The Introduction of English Language. I trust you all know about the syllabus of our first year, first semester, because first semester course gives a bird's eye view of language
and literature. But in depth, we are going to understand what are the nuances
and the specifically coming from language specialization, right? Let me show you the textbook first. I trust if you are even not from the language, English language and literature, this will be an interesting dialogue and discussion, because this is common for all of us, communication and culture. So, I am showing you this book. You can see this book very clearly. This is for BA English Literature students and the title is Introduction to the English Language, right? If you have the book with you, kindly take the book so that it will be easy for you to understand the course which is relevant for your discipline. Coming to the syllabus of what exactly is there in the first year syllabus, right? Again, my dear students, if you have any difficulty in understanding the concepts or you wanted to clarify your doubts, please come back to us with the number 040-23680-456, right? Because it is something which we are doing it live, and this teleconference is for the students and the learners who are in different parts of Telangana, Andhra Pradesh and also India. Whenever you are going to have any clarification regarding the subject, you can please feel free to call us back to these numbers. I am repeating the number because you will be able to reach us by these numbers 040-23680-456. Okay, let us come back to the topic now. My dear listeners and also the viewers, my dear students and learners, what is the syllabus for BA first year course, right? I am going to show you some slides here because you should understand language is a communication, right? Any language for that matter. We are speaking about English language because we are trying to learn BA English language and literature. So, coming to the first block of BA literature, first course of the BA literature, we are starting with, it consists of 5 blocks, right? What is the first block? First block is Introduction to Language and Communication. Again, Course is divided into 5 blocks. The first block is Introduction to Language and Communication. History and English is the second block. Third block is Language and Culture, Language and Variation, and the last is Grammar. Again, I wanted to show SLM here. This is self-learning material which is given to all the students, because whenever you are trying to understand a language through literature, because language is very important, depending on the meaning we communicate, the dialogue will change, the discussion will change, and also perspective. So, we are having 5 blocks, and in that course we are having the third block which we are discussing today with the unit 9, namely relevance of culture in communication. Right? Let us come back to why it is important for us to communicate. Communication is a means of something which we do every day, right? It is verbal and non-verbal. Coming back, if you are able to understand your language properly in a specific manner, whether it can be professional or in our personal spaces, culture plays a significant role. Why it is important as a student of literature to understand communication as a part of culture? I request Dr. Deepa Ramanathan to elaborate more on how culture influences communication. Over to Dr. Deepa.
So, good afternoon students, and thank you Maduri ma'am. See, we are all a byproduct of culture, like the way we behave, our attitude, our belief systems, the religious practices that we do, everything is a part of our culture. So, in a way we can say that we are products of culture. Now, how did we receive this culture? How did my belief system grow? This I have inherited from my parents, my grandparents, my teachers. So, in a way it was communicated to me. My culture was communicated to me. Now, as a mother, as a teacher, what am I doing? I am communicating the same culture to my children, to my students. So, that way students, you will see that culture and communication, they go hand in hand. So, culture is communicated to us, and with the help of communication, what we do is we are preserving our culture, we are upholding our culture. So, I guess you have understood the close interaction between culture and communication. They are not two, but one. They are two sides of a coin. So, over to you Maduri ma'am. You want to add anything?
Yes. As rightly pointed out by Dr. Deepa Ramanathan, we understand that communication happens not all of a sudden, but it happens over a period of time. That's what we say. Communication starts right from the birth. The moment the child is born from the mother's womb, they start crying, right? That is communicating. And when it comes to types of communication, how many kinds of communications are there? The first is verbal communication, the second is non-verbal communication.
As a child, when Dr. Deepa was referring about culture and communication, the moment child is born, they start crying. If they are not crying, if the child is not crying, that means maybe there is some difficulty in their breathing, or the child may not be alive as well. So, that is the first thing that the communication happens through non-verbal, the sound that comes out, right? So, non-verbal is something related to the gestures, body gestures, your eye contact towards the others, your gestures with the hands, and the movement of the body. So, all this comes under the kinesics, right? This comes under non-verbal communication. Coming to verbal communication. What is this verbal communication? Through language, one language. For example, my mother tongue is Telugu, right? So, I will be listening to Telugu, I will be able to speak in Telugu. That's what we speak on. Communication happens through LSRW skills, which we call listening, speaking, reading and writing. Whether it is in any language for that matter, whether it can be English or Telugu or Hindi
or any language, we learn communication through this listening, speaking, reading and writing processes. Coming back to some parts of some theories relating to communication. For example, next slide. See here, I think you can see this slide here if possible. I think if technically it is allowed, you all can see that, right? In the introduction to this communication and culture, what is culture? So, we are trying to deal with two concepts here. One is communication, another one is culture. So, what is culture? See, this looks very simple for us, but when you go deep inside, when you understand the concepts of culture, it is very important to understand a human being, right? So, the concept of culture refers to beliefs, customs, ideas and languages shared by group of people. I'll take one example. See, we all of us are from South India. That means whether it can be Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala or Karnataka and Tamil Nadu and some parts of Maharashtra as well, right? So, all of us has some cultural belief. Let me take one example of cultural belief of Telangana. The Bathukamma festival which we do in Telangana is a cultural motif of communicating with nature. Am I right, students? So, we are trying to communicate through a culture or celebration of culture. That's what we call rituals and customs. Coming to the next one, ideas. What kind of idea? For example, when we are speaking about green flag and red flag, what is this green? Green represent happiness. Or let us take one example of our national flag. National flag consists of all colors, different colors, right? White color, saffron color, green color and also black in between with a beautiful colors, and every color signifies one nature of that particular color. For example, saffron is for sacrifice, white is for peace. So, this is representing, color is representing an idea, right? And also green for fertility and agriculture. What is this Ashok Chakra with 24 spokes is about dharma, right? Which is an Indian culture. So, the custom that is there in our culture is also represented by communicating through ideas, through customs and also through symbols also. For example, if you see a symbol in a traffic, pole will be there, and in the traffic we have a zebra crosses. What is that going to signify? That is also communicating you, right? It is a professional culture. Do remember, it is a profession where to go on a road, if you are going on a road and there is lot of traffic is there. I think nowadays it's a rainy season, lot of rain is there, and if a walker on a road wanted to cross the road, then the zebra crosses at that place only, they will be crossing the road. Am I right, Deepa ma'am? So, when it comes to ideas, customs, language, it is a part of culture. How communication happens is, communication is a process through which people share thought, ideas and opinions also. So, it may differ from part to part, it may differ from culture to culture, it may differ depending on the historical background and also food habits, the dresses they wear, all this comes under the part of communication, and culture is represented through different kinds of customs, ideas, beliefs and also opinions. It is important to understand how culture influences communication so as to minimize the misunderstanding and promote and peace. So, we started with two root words, one is culture, another is communication. Coming back to how we communicate culture, I am just giving a recap of what we are doing right now, because as a teacher and as a listener, you should be able to understand the two concepts, the basics of the two concepts. Coming back to Dr. Deepa is focusing on, Sonam, you can go ahead with the topic as well.
Yes, thank you ma'am. Now I would like to ask few questions to Deepa ma'am. Ma'am, will you please tell us the relationship between culture and communication?
I think I started with that, Sonam.
Yeah.
But then, for the sake of our listeners, for the sake of our students, I'll just repeat that culture and communication, they are, two sides of a single coin. Our culture is our belief system. It is our, thought processes, our religious practices, what we are, our thinking. All that is a part of our culture which is communicated to us, and after we have learnt that, we have imbibed that, what do? We pass on that culture to our forthcoming generations. Like, see, I received a culture. I'm a Tamilian and born and brought up in Delhi, now residing in Hyderabad. So I learnt about my culture from my grandparents, my parents. My belief systems also were like sort of bilingual, like Tamilian, born and brought up in Delhi, and then I am more of a Delhiite and also a Tamilian, and then I came here to Hyderabad trying to adjust and learn the culture of Telangana. So, and I am also passing it on to my students, I am passing it on to my children, and yes, when I become a grandmother, I will pass it on to my grandchildren also. So, culture is like, communicated to us, and we communicate further the culture that we have grown up with, that we have imbibed to the future generation. So, that is how they go hand in hand.
Yes. As rightly pointed out by Dr. Deepa, the culture and communication, there is a relationship between both of it when it comes to modes of knowledge systems also, right? So there is certain kinds of effective communications pays a lot of importance in our daily life. What kind of strategies that we follow, and we will be further discussing about it in our coming few hours. So, kinesics is, as rightly pointed out, cultural modes of communication. For example, science of gestural communication. We said about non-verbal communication, that comes under kinesics, right? Proximus, study of cultural use of space. How we are using the space. Let me take few examples of festivals in our India. So, proximus, what we call any festival for that matter, we are going it together in a cultural space. For example, I wanted to take a few examples from our festivals, whether it can be a Christmas, or it can be Ramadan, or it can be any Sankranti festival or Pongal festival, different names we call it, right? So, these are some examples of study of cultural use of space, right? Coming to bodily adornment, conventions of dress and bodily adornment that serves as indicators of social status. Whenever that is one part of it, and also behavior and social interactions. Let us see some examples of bodily adornments, we call it, like what kind of garments that we wear. South Indians wear lot of for any dhoti for men, and for women the saris, right? When you go to Punjab, Haryana, north parts of India, you see salwar kameez, and when there is a influence of other cultures in us, there is always a mix of it, right? So, it is depending on the socio-political cultural context that we are reflecting in our daily life. Though that is one point that we can say, culture influences the communication, right? Coming to what kind of high and low context cultures. What is this high context culture? Information that surrounds an event. High context cultures are groups of people that have a strong sense of hierarchy and are collective. Why it is collective? For example, in the high context culture, there is a hierarchy. Power and control system is very visible. For example, between boss and subordinate, or it can be parents and the children, or mother and the son, or father and the son. There is a hierarchy is visible in the high context culture. When it comes to low context culture, groups of people that are individualistic, personally ambitious, and do not believe in hierarchy. When it comes to the ladder, low context culture is very clear in representing the power and control structures. For example, it can be individually a person or a community or representation of a country. We can see low context cultures are some examples of this. And when it comes to monochronic and polychronic times, these all communicate through these two levels of communication, right? Let us go for the few one. What is monochronic and what is polychronic time? I think Deepa will be focusing on another concept, which is we call it as misreading of a message, because we should understand how message, if it is represented properly, it is going to communicate well, and if you misread a communication, how it is going to reflect in our day-to-day conversations as well as in our professional places. I trust Deepa will give more inputs regarding this concept of miscommunication, misreading of a message. Yeah.
Yeah, so here I would like to share an interesting incident which happened with me, with a friend of mine actually. So this friend was actually suffering from cold and had asked his peon, working in a government setup, had asked his peon to get Coldrin. Yeah, so Coldrin is a medicine which one takes, like earlier on, so they would take for cold. So this person was waiting, like, you know, that the peon would walk in and get some Coldrin and water. And after some time, what does he see? That the peon walks in with a tray and there's a cold drink in it. Yeah, so that is how, you know, the message can be misinterpreted. So this person, friend of mine, said Coldrin, and the peon thought it was cold drink and bought that cold drink. Similarly, like sometimes what happens, like we might be smiling at a person and this person thinks, you know, that the message is not received correctly, and the person might think this person is making fun of me. That is what is misreading of communication, that the intention of the sender who's sending the signal, sending the message, is not received correctly by the receiver. Now see, as far as this cold drink is concerned, it was not that harmful, right? But there are times like it can really be fatal. Like for example, a pilot, you know, sends a SOS signal to ATC tower, and if the ATC tower, the person there does not receive it correctly, then it's going to be really disastrous. So you have to be like, the message, you know, sent has to be clear, and the message received also has to be very clear. So what do you think, Maduri ma'am?
Yes, as rightly pointed out by Dr. Deepa, when it comes to the, you know, whenever the message is miscommunicated, how we are going to handle the situation, that matters to us, right? So all the time students are more particular. Why we are speaking about culture and communication? Let us come back to our basics. You are all of age group between somewhere around you know, teenagers about 18 to 25 who are going to face the interviews in your specific areas or in the disciplines. But how good you are in your content, how good you are going to represent your subject, that matters to us. But at the same time, until 18 years or until 20 to 25 years, you are born and brought up with some culture, right? When you are in a South Indian, you are eating more rice. When you are a North Indian, you are eating more roti. When you are a South Indian, you have lot of summer, a lot of heat is there, whether you can be in Tamil Nadu or Karnataka or in Andhra and Telangana, and it's a lot of places you have a good summer. When it comes to Kashmir and northeast parts of India, less summer will be there, right? There is a division in the climate as well. But when it comes to the knowledge understanding, the concepts in the education system, even NEP says that there should be multidisciplinary approach. How multidisciplinary approach is directly related to our discipline, and when it comes to our own disciplines and the students complete successfully after their bachelor's, and also their masters, they go for a job purpose, right? At that place, at that moment in the job search, they go for a job, the first thing they encounter is a written test, then there will be some group discussion, and finally an interview, right? So in the interview, they are not only going to ask, generally the first question is introduce yourself, right? Again, what the mistake we will do is, we start telling the same thing, whatever that is there in our resume, right, or in our curriculum CVs, right? We will be again telling, I am so and so, my father, my mother, I am from so and so place, and this all plays an important role in our getting a job, right? So this comes to our mind. If you are having enough knowledge about your subject, but you are unable to communicate well in your interview, or you perform well in your interview, then that will be a difficulty, right? So whatever that they are asking in the interview is going to be vital whether you are going to get the job or not. Few questions will be from your personal space, and 50% of it will be from your specific focused area or this subject. Coming to your personal interview, personal area, they will see your attitude, right? How you are going to be a team, participation in a team, how you are coping up with other people, do you have a open-mindedness, are you open to learning, are you open for experimentation. So they will test your emotional intelligence and also your stability. That comes to you not over a period of time, not overnight, but over a period of time, right? That is what we always say, that we are all born and brought up in certain way that is represented not only in our certificates, but also the way we behave, the way we balance ourselves, the way we are expressing our ideas. Our communication should be clear, simple, and to the point. What we are driving here is, we are giving some professional information through theoretical way. At the same time, that theory should be applied to your practical life also. That's what we call it as a skill, right? Whatever that we know, whatever that we are doing in our daily life, we should be able to do that even in our professional places. For example, I am taking one or two examples from what Dr. Deepa said to us. Monochronic and polychronic times. Communication about high and low context cultures. Monochronic means low context cultures perceive time as monochronic, right? Mono means single. Chronic, chronology means one after the other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a chronology. If it is not going to be, it is a synchronous. That means it is going to be syncing with exactly synchronous, asynchronous. That means if the time is here 10 o'clock in Hyderabad, if I am in Hyderabad, now I am in Hyderabad, and the same time Indian Standard Time is there even at Chennai, right? We call it as synchronous time. If I am taking a class here at 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock in the morning, and so my student is there across online who is going to listen to my lecture online, or it can be digital platform, and for them it may be mid of the night, or it is maybe 24 hours variation or 12 hours variation is there, right? So that is asynchronous. The same way, monochronic means low context culture perceive time as monochronic. Time is thought as being linear, so can be saved and wasted. If you are going to save the time, you are saving your life. Am I right? If you are not going to save the time, saving the time means for every 60 seconds, are you doing the worth of time? Whether you can be a student or you can be a professional person, any for that matter, is it a productive time or you are just wasting the time? So there is always a context of it. If you are using the time properly, then you are going to be a very, very successful person in your life. That shows the discipline. If you are sticking to the time, it is not for the school, it is not for the office, it is not for the others, but it shows something that you are having a very disciplined life. That's what we see communication happens in the saved time as well. People are expected to be punctual and do one thing at a time. For example, I am taking one example from our context. When it comes to the school, school is a place where exactly on time the school will start, the prayer will be there, or people will come together in the assembly, and then regular classes will happen. In between, the interval will be given for the student to go out for a natural call or to just expend, go out for a fresh air. Again, they will come back with a 10 to 15 minutes of a break. Then they will have again continuous studies. They are sitting and listening to you, right? They will have a lunch break and afternoon sessions will happen. They will have a sports period also in the last, right? Games and sports. Why there is a systematic timetable is given for that? It is also communicating not only with your brain, with your intelligence, but also physical body needs to be disciplined for a purpose. Then only productivity will come down. See how I am speaking about communication. Communication at school level, communication through language, communication through culture, communication through festivals, and specifically when it comes to communication and culture, it is very vibrant. The food we eat, the way we wear, the way we talk to the people, the way we communicate, the mobility, all that comes under the culture, right? The physical, the geographical situations, historical perspective. I am taking one more example in the next one, high context cultures. Perceiving time as polychronic, time is viewed as a cyclic entity where people do multiple tasks at the same time. For example, I am a teacher, I am talking to you. In a classroom, in a regular conventional classroom,
I will be able to communicate with my students, 40 to 50 students if it is a large classroom. The classroom dynamics are different, right? I will be talking to the students in a different manner. I can see them, I can talk to them, the body language is visible. Whereas what all the three people now we are doing is, we are talking to you through camera. If you give a call to us, I cannot see you, whether you can be a student or you can be a learner or you can be any other interested person. We are talking to the camera because this is digital era, right? Communicating directly to a person is different from communicating to digital platforms, right? And second thing which is very important for us is how we are going to effectively communicate. I think Dr. Deepa will throw more light on how important for us to have an effective communication, and also some focus on why it is important to understand redundancy. Over to Dr. Deepa.
Thank you, Maduri ma'am. So, as I was telling you, like mistakes in communication does happen. So, here I would like to, narrate one more incident where a person, is invited for a bhojan. I guess many of you would have heard this, but then it is about, clear communication. So, one person inviting the other person for bhojan. Now, this person goes and they are singing the bhajan. I've been invited for bhojan. He's waiting, he's hungry. He goes to his friend and says, you have invited me for bhojan, but I don't see any bhojan. Where is the spread? I'm hungry. So he says, look around, everybody is singing bhojan. So bhajan and bhojan. So important to, clearly communicate. But then there are, fixes, quick fixes, and that is what we are going to talk about. That is redundancy in communication. See, communication, like yes, signals can be received in a wrong way, but then to correct that, we can reiterate, we can repeat till the time the person gets it right. See, for example, like Maduri ma'am, I'll tell you, whenever I receive a call, especially from these courier guys, and I tell my name is Deepa, so many a times they hear it as Sita or they hear it as Geeta. So then I have to spell out each letter, that D, double E D E E P A, Deepa. But then sometimes, because of noise, something, they don't get that name. So then I end up explaining it to them, that D for Delhi, E for egg, E for elephant, P for pig, and A for apple. So I ensure that they get my name right. And highly complicated is my surname. Like, I am Deepa Ramanathan. So many people pronounce it as Ramanathan, Ramanadam, or Ramnath, or Ramanna. So again, like, I go through that procedure, that process, that I have to, repeat, like R, A, M, A, N, A, T, H, A. So this redundancy actually, clears that confusion, that repetition, reiteration. And this is what we've been doing. Like, I remember when I was a child, learning my father's name, mother's name, or while I was teaching my children to remember the phone numbers. So I would make them repeat till they get it right. So, this practicing of redundancy, which is like if my plan A fails, I have all the other 26 letters B to Z, these parallel plans which are ready, so that I can avoid ambiguity in communication.
Yeah. As rightly pointed out by Dr. Deepa, when it comes to why it is important for us to understand the meaning properly rather than miscommunicating that message, because it happens when it can be in Bengal. For example, the b sound is always v sound, right? It is not b, but it is v, because again it comes to Malayalam or Bengal. The mother tongue influence will always be there when it comes to the translations or pronunciation of the words also. Coming back to what are the cultural barriers, that's what we say when it comes to effective communication is cognitive. Some cognitive constraints are there, some behavioral constraints are there, and some are emotional constraints. What is cognition? So, cognition is related to our intelligence and recognizing the concepts or the ideas or the something related to that particular object. So, if you are able to recognize and recollect it properly, your cognition levels are good. And if you are highly cognizant in understanding the concept very fast or very rapidly, then your cognizant levels are very high, right? So it comes over a period of time. You are doing that repeatedly, then cognitive levels are going to go up. World view of a person into which when new information is inserted, it is called as cognizant constraint, right? Behavioral constraint, how you can see that behavioral constraint? Guides verbal and non-verbal communication influenced by the culture. So when it comes to behavior, maybe if you are in Japan or China, eating crabs and eating small snakes and earthworms is not cultural shock, right? If you are given an earthworm to eat in India, it is a cultural shock to us. We eat different kinds of vegetarian foods and also non-vegetarian foods, but we don't eat as per the dependency of we are not the culture never exposed us to that kind of a food, right? Whether it can be, if you are in South India, again and again I am taking the historical perspective, sometimes the cultural shocks that we get, and maybe the food that we eat. People always judge, or people come to an opinion, or they make an opinionated ideas about some cultures depending on the food, depending on the color they use. All this comes under the constraints, right? Communicating in constraints, and constraints how you are going to communicate with that color and idea. Coming to the emotional constraint, display of emotions during communication. You wanted to give the information. See, you are surprised, you say, wow, it's very beautiful. You don't say, wow, he is dead. No, you say, alas, he is dead. You show certain kind of emotion when something happens, very sad happens, you say it's an alas, or oh, it's very sorry to hear that. But you don't say the same expression when you are happy. So, if you are communicating in a wrong manner, in a wrong way, you are unprofessional in your place, unprofessional behavior, unprofessional emotions you are showing. You are talking to the person and you cannot take your hands in the way you want. You should be properly communicating. You cannot take your hand up your head, or you cannot scratch your back and talk to a person, because that shows like you are not balanced. That does not mean that you are showing, maybe in some context it is also shown as a disrespect, right. Okay, I am taking one more example of cultural communication. If you are going to a temple or any part of pious place or a prayer, you in the church you do not go with shoes, take it without the shoes. You go enter the church with the shoes. That is one culture, right. If you are in England or in any part of other parts of the world, Western cultures, with the shoes they will be at home. But in Indian culture, generally Indian traditions do not allow the slippers or the shoes inside the house. That is one cultural constraint. But again, coming back, everyone has got a belief system, right. Let me take one example of cultural communication when it comes to before corona and after pandemic, right. Corona, we all know, the epidemic which is affected all our lives. We started washing our hands, and whatever that we touch, we started to wash, and we started to maintain a distance. This is not there in all the cultures of the world, right. It was there only with every person. We used to wash our hand and take the food. That was the appropriate way children get an in the education system. The discipline is wash your hands and eat the food. That was not very mandatory. Few people used to do, few used to ignore depending on their circumstances, and some will say like, I do not have time to wash my hand, right, or I do not have time to keep the things in place or at home also. But when it comes to pandemic, all of a sudden it is not a cultural emergency, but it is a medical emergency for all of us. See, all of us started washing our hands whenever we are doing something. When you are not only at the eating, even if you touch a person, you used to wash. When you see something, or when you are getting your eyes are getting contact, your hands are getting contact with any foreign body or with any other person, even inside the house, it is not in the outside the society, we started to have this kind of culture, right. So, this is important for us to understand. Communication and culture varies from place to place, varies from time to time, and culture to culture also. So,
Madhuri ma'am, I would just like to add here, like the cultural shock that we talk about. So, this was like, see, we Indians, we have a certain way of greeting. Generally, we do not hug a person, it is just namaste. We maintain a distance and we say namaste. So, this happened when the then president of Russia, like Mikhail Gorbachev, he was visiting India, and that time Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, he had gone with his wife, Sonia Gandhi. Sonia is Italian by birth. So, they had gone to receive him. Now, see, in that culture, the culture in which Sonia Gandhi grew up, it was okay to hug a person, to peck a person on the cheek. And when both of them met, Mikhail Gorbachev and Sonia Gandhi, she went ahead, embraced him and pecked him on his cheek. And this became a national headline that, the Gandhian daughter-in-law embracing a foreign president. But this was not for many Indians, this could have been a shock, but this was a culture that she was a part of. Yeah, so it was very natural, it was very normal for her to do that. But, it was like such a hue and cry was raised that people said that she went and embraced him, she is our daughter-in-law and she is a married woman, how can she do that? Yeah. So, see, we cannot judge a person, by what he or she is doing. Probably it is, the culture, it is a part of their culture and part of their upbringing. So, the knowledge of such things are very important.
Yes. As rightly pointed out by Dr. Deepa, she said about the cultural shock, right? Culture shock in the gestures, talking to a person and when some foreigner is visiting us, how we do our gesture, like we don't say good morning, we say namaste. Any part of India, we say namaste, folding our hands. The same thing, one more important thing that we observe in Indian culture is eating process. We in South India, we always eat with our own hands, right? We use our hand for eating, and generally in many parts of semi-urban and rural areas, even today, people eat in a banana leaf, which is important for auspicious occasions as well as daily life also. They eat in banana leaf because that is good for health, and also it's a part of our culture. And if it's some festivals, we make it a point that all the food should be offered in banana leaf to the god or goddesses, right? When it comes to the eating of the food that we eat with hands, whether it can be rice or sambar or rasam, these are all words of South Indian dal, we call in Hindi dal and chawal. All are a little bit that we do the everything with our hands. We don't use spoon and knife and everything to eat our food, right? Or if it is noodles also, we take the help of the fork rather than we cannot eat properly as the Chinese or Japan people will eat the noodle. Our process is different, right? It is again a part of our habit, which is a part of our culture also. Whether it becomes a very difficult, a foreigner comes to us and you give a plate of rice and ask them to eat, they will see your face and they will ask you, do you have a spoon? See, it is nothing wrong. Eating in spoon is their habit in their culture. Eating with our hand is as good as eating with spoon. This is our culture. We cannot judge them. But in our communication, that again becomes a barrier. In the non-verbal communication, we will be able to do. If someone is crying in China or America or England, tears will come from the eyes. It will not be something else. If someone is crying, we can make out. That is a sign language. It's again a big thing that we can discuss in another chapter or another sessions, where non-verbal communication is very, very, very important when it comes to listening and hearing and listening and speaking impaired people. They speak through the language signs, which is very important. Like for example, a smile, you are smiling, or I'm thankful to you, something which is very important for them. That is non-verbal communication. People who can speak, who can listen, they also do 50% of communication happens through our non-verbal gestures only. For example, if you wanted to greet someone, your smile, your confidence, your eye contact, your gestures, your handshake, all this will represent your non-verbal communication. Nodding the head, whether you are nodding to agree or to disagree. Indians are known for sometimes notorious also, like do you agree with me? They say yes, right? Yes means generally what the people expect in the Western countries is you have to say yes, right? But Indians have a way of saying, for yes also they say yes, yes, something like that. They roll the head in all the ways. But we are not finding fault with Indian culture or the foreign culture, but accordingly culture is also represented in different forms of communication, starting with food, starting with festivals, starting with our clothes, starting with the fabrics. All this comes under the part of cultural communication. Let us,
Can I just add here, Professor Maduri, that when we talk about dress, dressing sense, how culture, plays an important, very important role. Here I am going to talk about this movie. I guess many of you would have seen, if not, do see. It's PK, a Bollywood movie, which is a Amir Khan starrer movie. Now, Amir Khan in that is an alien. He is the protagonist, is an alien, and he accidentally comes to Earth and tries to learn the earthly ways. So what happens is, like, he sees a woman clad in a white sari. She's a Hindu woman clad in a white sari, and he goes and tries to find out, like, why is she dressed in white? Why is she having that gloomy, sullen expression? So the people around her tell him that she's a widow and she's just lost her husband, and she's in mourning. So that was one learning that he got, and he tries to walk a few steps, and few steps down the line he meets a Christian bride dressed in a white gown, and he goes and expresses, offers his condolence to her. So then she, gets very upset. She says, "Oh, this is my wedding gown, mourning is in black." So again, PK gets confused. Now he thinks that, okay, black is associated with mourning. He walks a further 10 steps down and he meets a Muslim couple. So he goes to the lady who's dressed in black. She's wearing a burqa, that is a part of her culture, and he offers his condolences, that, "Oh, I'm so sorry, you're dressed in black, so your husband is no more." So then there is this scene where there is this well-built, robust man coming from the back and says, "Main abhi zinda hu," and all the husbands start chasing him. So what I'm trying to say is, like, within our own country, like if you see, we have people of different religion with different, their attire is totally different. So we can't judge. So whether it is India, whether it is abroad, people have different, they wear different dresses, which is a part of their culture, and we learn, like, see, India is a very rich, that way we are very, as Indians we are very rich, because we, come to learn about so many things, and to avoid any kind of miscommunication, it is better that we learn about the other culture. We are appreciative of other culture.
Yes. As rightly pointed out by Dr. Deepa, when she said cross-cultural communication, how cross-cultural communication happens in our society, because now we are in a cosmopolitan city, people are going like, now the world has become a global village. So respecting the others, whether it can be in their attire or in their food or in their habits, there is always a space to agree and also to keep a healthy distance, and also inclusion is also part of cross-cultural communication. What kind of communication is important? Effective cross-cultural communication. How you are going to speak effectively is some strategies we will be able to. It's only the bird's eye view. Please do understand, my dear learners and the students, it is not a hardened rule. We are all part of communication right from the moment we are born until the last breath. So when you are communicating with a kind of consciousness, sometimes it happens in our professional places. At home we are different. The way we speak, the way we conduct ourselves is different, because it is a very private space. When it comes to our professional places, how to behave ourselves, so that we should be able to respect the others, and our communication should be cross-cultural. As rightly pointed out, one example that we took from one Bollywood movie, rightly pointed out by Dr. Deepa, the white represents the peace, the white represents, for some it is a mourning, for some it is a part of a celebration, and black can be, for some it is a part of mourning, and for some it is just a color. So depending on their culture, depending on their interpretation and perspectives, the dialogue will be there. Depending on the engagement of that particular culture, how you are going to negotiate the intersectionalities, or how you are going to have a dialogue, or the discourse is going to be based on the core concepts, right? So let us come back. I think it's almost from last 45 minutes we are discussing on culture and communication. The last few minutes I will be winding up by giving very few kind of techniques, or we can call it as some tips that is important for us. I think we received a call. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Shravya from Hyderabad.
Good afternoon, Shravya.
I have a question regarding the teleconference.
Yes.
I just have a doubt. The thing is, there are many countries, there are many states, and people have different customs everywhere we go. And like the experts already pointed out, there are different ways in which people engage in their customs. But sometimes it's a little bit difficult to follow how every person in every state can follow customs. So are there any basic techniques that we can remember, that we can follow, so as to avoid miscommunication?
Okay.
Yes.
That is my doubt, madam.
Thank you. I think the student or the learner or a person who has given a call to us, the very interesting question she said, different cultures are there, different kinds of how to have a balance. That's what I think, if I am right, she is asking about. See, there is no hardened rule for this. The openness of mind is very important, and whether if you are unable to understand their language, first of all, we should be able to communicate slowly and clearly if you are not with the same mother tongue, right? So you must be able to have some patience first because it is not from your culture and it is not something from an alien word. We are all human beings, right? The first thing. And basic techniques for that is listening. We should listen to the person. We may not be able to agree. For example, the debate will be there. All the vegetarians generally they don't prefer to go for a non-vegetarian food, but doesn't mean like we should hate them. Or non-vegetarian people, there is no need like they should hate the vegetarian people. There is something called as agree to disagree technique. I agree that I like white color, you may like a red color, but I agree to respect your red color with due respect to the other individual. We are respecting their culture, though we may not be the part of that culture. Am I right, Deepa?
Yeah.
I think this is very important for us to take home point that they must be respect and value to the other culture as we respect our own culture and value. In the last few minutes, we are going to wind up by having a bird's eye view why it is important for us in the language to have a cultural communication, how to give a positive approach towards a life, and also communication plays a vital role not only in our personal life but also professional life. Thank you so much, Dr. Deepa, and also
thank you.
our Sonam for being a part of this program, and I thank our EMMRC officials and the Vice Chancellor for giving this wonderful opportunity for all of us to be on the digital platform to interact with the students in course of time. Whenever you want to visit, you please come back to braou.ac.in and you will be able to see the lessons and view the lessons and understand your SLMs in a more effective manner.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
మనం నివసిస్తున్న భూమి సౌర కుటుంబంలో భాగం. మన భూమితో పాటు మొత్తం 8 గ్రహాలు సైతం ఇందులోనే ఉన్నాయి అనేది మనందరికీ